I was on Instagram and I was tagged in this post. And this woman is talking about we need to stop celebrating suffering in relationships, like how much you endured to get to that 10-year mark. And I have said it, I broach these conversations that Christianity and other religions teach women that we are supposed to endure. And when I speak on these things, folks are like, that's not what the Bible says. That's not what the Bible says. That is literally what we are taught in church, in religion, that women are supposed to endure for one reason or another. So we're going to watch this video and we're going to talk about some of the comments. And I have another post going on my YouTube page where we are discussing religion and how the Black church has Black women in a chokehold. But honestly, it's religion that has women in a chokehold, that teaches and programs us and socializes us from the time that we are babies to endure, to let them do what they want to do and just endure it, just to, keep modifying your behavior. Just stick it out. But let's watch this video and we're going to talk about some of these comments.
Suffering. Yeah. I wish that we could stop celebrating suffering in relationships so much. Sure. Why do I have to suffer for you for 10 years and then all of a sudden it's like in year 11, you love me so much, not because of who I am, but you love me so much that I literally stayed beside you while you were abusing me. Yeah. Why am I glorifying the suffering that you allowed me to encounter for 10 years? And now when it's time for you to celebrate me, you're not celebrating me because you will love me and you value me and you cared for me and you are returning me back to God in a better way than what you found me. But now you're at the place where we are now celebrating my endurance for your suffering. Yeah. We've got to be a culture that stops celebrating that you've got to die in order for us to be able to resurrect this amazing marriage. We die to things like not having self-control. We die to selfishness. Entitlement. We die to entitlement. I don't have to die to your infidelity. Yeah. I don't have to die to your physical and emotional abuse. I don't have to die to those things. Actually, if I die to myself and learn that I'm a girl that I don't love myself, then maybe I would attract someone that would not cheat on me. Maybe I would attract someone who will not beat and abuse me. If I die to my unworthiness, then God is able to resurrect me to someone who is able to love me properly. Ladies, can we please stop celebrating that we have the ability to endure suffering? Yeah. I wish that we...
All right, David says, a Proverbs 31 woman will only attract a man of God. So once again, it's what a woman has to do or be in order to attract a decent man versus ever really holding men responsible for how they behave. And then Jordan Johnson says, a part of love and fruit of the Spirit is patience and long suffering. That suffering word. You married an imperfect person. That's just what comes with it. I don't think it's a celebration of enduring, more so a celebration of the development of fruit of the Spirit, and that is worth celebrating. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a happily married man who went through hell to get there in his marriage. They literally want you to go through hell with them. That understand what these people are saying. They're saying imperfect. That's to kind of lighten it. But then he also says hell. I don't want to go through hell to get through my heaven. That is how slave masters use the church to keep Black people in a state of, okay, I have to endure this now to get to heaven. Another man talking, and another man who isn't actually connecting his words to what this woman actually said. Stop dating outside your league and holding the man's value to money. That guy you left on read actually liked you, but you're married to someone you had to chase around and forced to do right. Your fault. Sorry, not sorry. Like I said, they have a sad comprehension level that just can't connect. Like they just have, it's just such a struggle. Lady Sigma says long marriages is nothing but women forgiving BS. Miracles and Magic say, we don't realize a lot of these men aren't truly submitted to Christ as their head, So we foolishly marry men who have no self control, discipline, or integrity and don't know how to love, protect, and provide for their wife. Then we get drugged through the mud by men who profess to love us, but will kiss us with the same lips they just had on another woman's birth canal, and then turn to God wondering how we ended up in this predicament when God never blessed this union. So once again, it's the woman's fault for choosing wrong. She just took a long way to say you chose wrong. Miss Nika says women need to lose the fear that no one else will want them. Once that fear is gone, it makes it so much easier to walk away from what no longer serves you. Women deserve soft, easy love. Everything doesn't have to be a struggle. I've had this discussion, but this woman says unpopular opinion. But the reason specifically Black women and men stay and suffer in relationships is because religious institutions have taught us doctrine that tells us that suffering is next to godliness. They tell us to have a testimony, you got to have a test. To have a message, you must have gone through some mess. They tell us this. It does not matter what Black church you were raised in. You have heard that sermon. You have heard that sermon. I know I am not wrong. I was born and raised in the church. Me, I'm agnostic now, but I can speak church. I can speak church quite well. But I am tired of this message to women that we have got to endure. I'm tired. Okay, so this woman, Spread Your Wings and Fly, says, I'm glad you're having this conversation. So many women are saying, let's not blame the church. It's like they don't understand the church is socializing Black women to endure pain and harm. They understand. But if I speak to too many women and organized religion is impacted because women understand that they don't have to endure hell to get to heaven, then women are going to start walking away. Marley says, I'm a Christian and I'm going to blame the church. The harm that organized religion has done to people is unfathomable to me because growing up, the church was a safe place for me. I realize now that church, mosque, temple, synagogue, church leaders, and congregations were not safe places for the vast majority of people, and that's why most want nothing to do with religion or spirituality. Agnostics, atheists, and religious nuns are growing for a reason. And it's not simply because the pastor said something I don't like. No, there is a good amount of church harm that's been done to women and even some men, but women are talking about this, and it's to the benefit of men, some men in the church. This person says, I knew I was done with church at like 8 or 9 years old. The preacher was talking about wives need to follow their husbands no matter what. When a woman in the congregation asked, even if he is leading them to hell, this crazy man said, yes, keep following him. That's when I was like, this ain't for me. And this woman says, Afro Butterfly says, church advised me to stay with a horrible man. I left him and the church. We got to talk about this one. This woman says, a few years ago, I went out on a coffee meetup with this gentleman I met. So as we were talking, he was talking about his mom and how she was a saint. Now my ears perked up. I started asking questions. I asked what made his mom so saintly. He kept saying how they don't make women like his mom anymore. I asked why. He said his mom stayed with his dad, even though his dad was in and out of jail, on drugs, stole from family and friends, and even told him, his own son, that he would always be on drugs. But his mom didn't divorce his dad because she was in the church. So I said, you're right. They don't make them like that because there is no way no way in hell I'm going through any of that. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that anyone has to stay married to a crackhead. Nah, I'm good. You want a fool. So, with that, I am going to leave that conversation there. Now, if you are on my TikTok page, I'm going to attach a couple of videos. One video is from this woman who we have seen on my page. I've shared her stuff on my page before, so her video will be coming up next. And another video is about how religion in general, this woman talks about religion in general and how it has harmed women. And she goes through the gambit of how religious men have used women and enriched themselves but harmed men. So if you're on my YouTube page, you have 2 videos coming. If you are on my TikTok page, just click into the captions.
I want to start this video by saying that I'm not asking for money and I'm not asking for sympathy. What I'm asking for is, if you are a young 14, 16, 21-year-old girl, listen up. I drove to the grocery store. I need to grab some milk and bread and a couple things, flipped open the bank app on my phone, and I've been sitting in my car crying ever since because I never have enough money. And why do I never have enough money? Because when I was a 19-year-old girl, I fell in love. My Mormon faith told me that I was supposed to be a stay-at-home mom. I got married. I started having babies. I dropped out of college. I never had a career. My only jobs that I ever had in life were a waitress at the Olive Garden and managing a pretzel maker in a mall. Oh, my first couple years of marriage, I decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, so I bought a windshield business. I was 20. And my Mormon stake president reminded me that women weren't supposed to work, so I quit my own business, handed it over to my husband, took my name off of it. I would work our family business throughout the next 24 years of my marriage, but I never got paid. I didn't have a salary. My name wasn't on it. I literally worked for room and board. That's it. I would eventually also launch a custom home building company with my uncle as the architect and my friends as the builder, my designs, my realtor. But again, because my husband was the man, his name was on all of the projects, his name was on the business. I remember one of the last custom homes that I built, we sold it and made about a $260,000 profit. That money all went into his bank account. I didn't even have a bank account. I should have said that in the beginning. I never had a bank account. He would give me little envelopes of cash to go grocery shopping with. Anyway, that house sells, the money goes in the bank. I just asked if I could buy myself a piano with the money. I had worked on building that house for 2 years. All of the money went into his bank account. Nothing was under my name. I got a piano and I got a free house to live in. And I got groceries. So I found myself divorced at age 44 just 5 years ago, and within just a few months I was living in my car while he made about $250,000. He would eventually quit that job so that he wouldn't have to pay alimony and child support. He has only paid alimony one time ever in the 5 years since we've been divorced. Once ever. Right after my divorce, I remember being really confident about my ability to get a job, so I put together a resume. I remember one of the first interviews that I had as a management position for a windshield company, similar to the one that we had run. And the man actually laughing as he was interviewing me, like he was really sympathetic. He wasn't being a douchebag, but he was laughing. And he's like, so let me get this straight. You helped manage your family windshield business with your husband, but you were mostly a stay-at-home mom, and all you did was like the marketing and the hiring, firing, and some of the strategy for the business. But it became really apparent that I needed so many more skills to have any type of management job. I couldn't even work the basic computers. He told me in the interview, please don't apply for any more jobs like this. You are not qualified at all. You're not capable of doing this unless you go back to school and get your degree or get some different experience. And so I ended up, my first job after my divorce was $11 an hour, 4 hours a day, working as an assistant to a school teacher in an elementary school. I made $44 a day. For 24 years, I lived in $1 million homes. I vacationed all over the world. I spent my summers in Hawaii. I could buy myself $500 jeans, diamond tennis bracelets. We had boats and RVs and whatever I wanted. And it never bothered me once that my financial security was dependent on that man being in love with me. I never realized that him liking me or not liking me or finding me sexy or attractive or interesting determined whether or not my children could eat, whether or not I could buy myself a fucking jug of milk and a loaf of bread. So I had my 5th surgery in 2 years, 2 weeks ago, and I'm supposed to be in bed resting, and I can't because I worked 7 days a week since my divorce 5 years ago, which is why I'm covered in paint and looking like crap. We actually have a 4-day weekend here in Tucson, and since my partner isn't working, he's working on furniture flip partner projects with me. I have no retirement. I have no savings, no education, no resume. I was almost a straight A student throughout all of my education. I went to college at age 17. I had dreams for my future. I'm working so hard to get myself out of just perpetual side hustle hell. There's not a day that goes by that I don't wonder why. Why I didn't have a fucking backup plan. Why my kids eating and having stability was dependent on a romantic relationship. Why nobody told me to put money in the bank. Why nobody told me don't have babies until you have an education and some experience. Don't have so many kids. I wish somebody had told me to put my name on our vehicle loans and to put my name on our houses. I wish somebody had told me that it's okay to put those babies in daycare for a couple days a week and go to college and have a job. And I think I need to do an entire trad wife sequel, because you can be happy and rich and loving your life like Ballerina Farm until the guy walks out. I want you guys to imagine for a minute, even rich Hannah. If Deanna walked out, if all of his financial backing and he had to sell the farm, and then what does she have? Find another rich boy to marry? I just don't want one more woman to DM me, comment, send me their stories, cry to me about how hard it is for them to support their families, and I am so tired of living my own story. We have to make this stop. Raise your daughters to be financially independent. Focus on their futures and educations just as much as you focus on your sons. I wish that someone had done that for me.
From Gandhi, I learned that kindness and equality doesn't apply to your wife, whom he controlled and abused. Through the atonement of Jesus, I learned that bleeding out or feeling the pains of the world is only valid when it is done by a man. When a woman bleeds, it is unsanitary, and when a woman feels the suffering of the world, she's histrionic. The Buddha taught me about enlightenment, but also that women are roadblocks to enlightenment, and that you can leave your wife and child in order to sit under the Bodhi tree. Einstein taught me about the god of Spinoza and having awe for the nature of reality, but that his first wife didn't deserve to be in his footnotes. Her place was to do his housework. In school, I learned about civil disobedience and civil rights from Martin Luther King, but also that if you are a woman, black or white, you are still a sexual object first. In Mormonism, my first faith language, I was taught that God spoke to man and God spoke to a prophet, and that God demanded polygamy, and that the young girls who were told that they needed to marry Joseph Smith in order to prevent their families from going to hell were just collateral damage to this God. I learned about simple living and inner peace from the Dalai Lama, but when he was asked if a female Dalai Lama could succeed him, he said yes, but in order for her to do anything useful, she needed to be attractive. When he was called out on this, he said it was just a joke. And I learned from the holy texts in the West that God, with his male pronouns, is the one who single-handedly creates life, not the women who continue to die in childbirth. Over and over, I have learned that men have taken my innate spirituality and given me back crumbs of what the sacred feminine used to be. In every field of spirituality, in all of my wanderings, I have been asked to prove my worth as a woman. In almost every field of spirituality that I've explored, I've been asked to prove my worth. I've been asked if I'm worthy enough to enter their temples, if I've solved a koan to their liking, if I've had a kundalini awakening at the level that they have. They will ask if I have the appropriate credentials and the right acromens to even sit at the table. I've been told over and over that my life that is rich with spiritual connection is only acceptable when it is judged acceptable by a man or a male god. In return, they demand their priesthoods and their tithings and their titles and their trophies. For me personally, it took years to disentangle the internalized patriarchy from 2 decades of study in religion and philosophy and history. And what I learned from the female mystics is that spirituality needs none of that pomp and circumstance. Ideas can be powerful even when they are shared over coffee and conversational language. Books can be profound even when they're not written in language that can only be read by other academics. Rituals can be sacred even when they're household routines. A contemplation practice where you listen to a podcast while walking your dog is just as valid as being able to sit in a full lotus pose. Liturgical calendars can operate around the birthdays and anniversaries of the people who are important to us. The sacrament can be the gift of sourdough bread that you got from a starter that you bought at a farmer's market. Revelation is when an intuitive friend texts, "How are you doing? Are you okay?" Female mystics taught me that divinity can be found even in the most ordinary places when life and spirituality are so enmeshed that they can't be separated. Follow me here for more no-nonsense spirituality, coming to you with my first post in the new she shed, which is not yet operational, but it's getting there. And by the time I'm done with it, it'll be a more sacred place than the Mormon temple that's just around the corner that doesn't allow me in because I'm not worthy.